in your lives, even when you're still in the unfolding or the processing stage, because it's a conscious moving forward in areas of your life that continue to get better and better. And the more you do that, the more others see that in you and in life. And that's one of the ways we spread this teaching. So this month we've been talking about walking by faith. And last week I talked about the 9 different items in Ernest Holmes' chapter on faith in the Science of Mind text, that 9-page chapter that has 9 ideas in it. And we got through 6 of them, so I said I'd finish the last 3 today. First, I want to go back and review the first 6 and just touch on them briefly, just to kind of stimulate the memory cells. The first was that faith is a faculty of the mind, that it's a mental attitude, that it's the acceptance of a concept. It's not confined to religion. It finds its highest expression in spirituality, which includes religion but is not limited to it. And then the second point was that faith is an affirmative mental approach to reality. The third was that fear is the negative use of faith. 4, that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. 5 was that when the one praying becomes convinced, the prayer is automatically answered. And number 6 was, in order to have faith, we must have the conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to weaken that conviction. So that brings us, there's a bird out there that would love to hear this talk. It's trying to come through that window. Brings us to the last 3. So let me offer number 7, which is that all sciences are built on faith principles, which sounds like an oxymoron, and yet it's not. Because any time a scientist sets out to prove a theory, he or she has faith that they will find the answer, not that they already know the answer, and that they are bending or twisting evidence to fit the answer, but rather that there is a way to bring that answer about, and that scientist has faith that he or she or someone will do that very thing. So I mentioned this, and I'm sure Holmes did as well, based upon the fact that we are not in competition with or in opposition with the sciences. In fact, that is why this teaching originally was designated as religious science, because Holmes felt it was important to marry the two, that both are satisfied or succeed in our lives through the use of belief and faith and the active acceptance of those results. So number 8 is that we should constantly vitalize our faith. In such degree as we speak our truth, Spirit has spoken. So we go back to that basic principle that God is all there is and I am one with God, or Spirit is all there is and I am one with Spirit. And so Spirit speaks by means of me, which some days can be a little unnerving when you hear what you're actually saying and realize that this is Spirit speaking by means of me. Maybe I'll clean up my act a little. Maybe I'll listen more to what I'm saying. Maybe I'll recognize that there is that within me which still needs some work. And that's okay. In fact, that's wonderful, when we become aware, there is that within me which still needs some work. So often, we find folks who say, you know, what am I here for? What's my purpose? Why am I continuing on in this plane of existence? And that's the answer. That I am here to bring a message. First of all, to myself. Because it's my spirit, my essence, that I am locked in with for eternity. And I get to guide its path. That's not responsibility, that's an incredible gift. And that as I speak my word, it's kind of like an opportunity to measure how I'm doing. How's it going? And to see the areas where I can focus my attention for a period of time. I had a conversation with someone today, or this past week, that I haven't talked with for some time, and who had a laundry list of things to work on, which I think we all do. Some of our laundry lists are longer than others. Some of them are more poignant than others. And some of them are more daunting than others. This one was all of those things. And I mention this to you only because we have a tendency to say, I need to do some spiritual work on this, and this. And to try and put that all into one spiritual mind treatment and resolve it. Here's the deal. We are always praying. We are praying ceaselessly. Regardless of whether we are in formal prayer or not, we are praying ceaselessly. Because every word we speak, like the song we sing sometimes, our thoughts are prayers. So we're always praying. Every thought we have, every word we speak is our prayer in that moment. So I have all these things that I'm working with. Going back to leadership qualities, maybe I could prioritize those. Maybe I could start with the one that is the most important to me in this moment. It may be the one that has impact on some of the others as well. That's what we call getting clear, developing clarity. And then to put my attention on moving forward in consciousness with that. It's amazing how often other things fall into place as I put my attention on that. And Kim's story about the paddling with her coworkers is one of those. I'm looking for greater harmony in the workplace. And utilizing something that she knows and loves and is dedicated to do that was the perfect opportunity to bring that about, enjoy the day because it's her passion, and the other thing falls into place as well. So,
I didn't plan it. I mean, I didn't even suggest it.
huh.
I know.
What a coincidence.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It is. No worries. But that's the very point, that sometimes we are surprised. We don't realize how powerful we are when we set something like that in motion. Nor do we have to know all the details of it in order to make it come about. When we're clear on the outcome, and that outcome is for the greatest good, which in this case certainly is a greater bond or harmony in the workplace, serves everybody there. And the customers or clients as well. I mean, it's a win-win-win kind of a thing. So it's important that we recognize that we don't have to solve all of our problems at once. We have never done that in the past, or we wouldn't have this laundry list. To believe that we must do that now is to put a burden on ourselves. And it's a burden that we are not prepared yet to handle. So let's take one bite at a time and work diligently and lovingly on that. And give ourselves then that opportunity to, first of all, enjoy the success of it. Secondly, to recognize that when I really do put my attention on my intention, it works. So I see the workings of this belief and this faith. And I am encouraged then to continue on and to expand my work as I go along. So that's vitalizing and revitalizing our faith. Speaking our truth. As we speak our truth, Spirit has spoken. And it gets easier and easier. It feels better and better as I do this. So as I said last week, if we are to have an active faith, the faith of God, our thought must be centered in that universal mind and its infinite work and expansion. We know that under divine law, all things are possible when we believe and work in conformity with those universal laws. So it's also, I find, consoling to recognize that faith doesn't spring forth into being fully formed, that it grows by knowledge and it grows by experience. So no matter what momentary outside experience might be unfolding, we can focus steadfastly on our knowledge that God is good, and that God is always present, and that God is always on our side, and that we get to decide what that side is. So now this week, I have some more things that I want to share with you. It's the old television infomercial, but wait, there's more. Anybody can use the short form if you so choose. That is, go to the Science of Mind text, to the glossary, and to read Holmes' short definitions of any of a variety of words. So I think I don't have that marked. I'm going to the glossary. Yes. Going to the glossary on faith. Oops. Bear with me. Would you believe it's not in here? He does not have faith defined in the glossary. So you're going to have to go to I think it's chapter 12, which is, I don't have that marked either. Look at that. There it is.
Page 155.
Thank you.
I should have read.
Page 155. And read the short form on faith. It's interesting that it's not even listed in the glossary. It's apparently, Holmes takes it so much on faith that he doesn't even include it back there. So, and if you have a concordance, I think I mentioned to you last week, if you have a Science of Mind concordance, there are over 100 references there, which means there are over 100 different references within the Science of Mind text itself on faith. So it's kind of like a buffet line or a smorgasbord for us religious scientists. Anybody can find something that feeds them about what faith is, why it's valuable to us, and how to initiate and use it, as we've been talking about this last month. And all of these resources are available to us whenever and wherever we are, and especially today's world, when you can go online and download these things. when you can buy the Science of Mind text in CD form and carry it with you wherever you go. It's a lot lighter in weight than that text is. So this is the opportunity to develop our faith by practicing it, to expand our faith by using it, and to work our faith by seeing the results of it. So today's talk is titled, I didn't even tell you that, did I? Faith and Evolution. So what does faith have to do with evolution? Evolution is inherent in the passing of spirit into form, thought into form. God by means of me and you and every other living thing. Creation is the Creation is the logical result of the outpush of life into self-expression. It's the evolution of thought into form. Remember the first week we talked about faith without action is devoid of life. So, because we believe that we have faith, at least that's the beginning point. Because we believe, we have faith. Anything we believe in, we have faith that it can unfold within us or by means of us. To have the belief is to tap into that immutable source that already knows it, and that it probably already has manifested somewhere in life form, whether we're aware of it or not. What we're talking about is individualizing it by means of ourselves. So it's like a starter kit, knowing thought moves into form, knowing that if you can believe it, you can achieve it, knowing that it's done unto us as we believe. It's a starter kit. It's an uncomplicated set of instructions on how to do life. It's sort of like what René Descartes, the French philosopher, once said, "I think, therefore I am." Long before religious science came into being, people were thinking, and as a result of that, being. So for each of us, our very existence is a demonstration of our faith in existence. And faith is inherent in any and all evolution, whether it's by scientific method, by spiritual method of prayer and meditation and affirmation and doing good works, whatever. Faith is like any other skill or talent or expression. It requires practice, it requires attention, and it requires refining. And I think we need to be really sensitive to that concept of refining. Because sometimes what shows up is not what we expected. Or what seemingly does not show up is not what we expected. And so our initial reaction is to doubt, is to fear, or is to step back away and say, that doesn't work, or that's not what I wanted. As compared to looking at what is showing up and what it looks like or doesn't look like, so that I have the opportunity to refine what I'm expecting. And to be convinced that my expectation can and does play out in real time. Now, to my way of thinking, there is a caveat to that. And the caveat is that my expectation has to do with my own life, my own actions, my own beliefs. That it's not my job nor my privilege to superimpose that on anybody else other than by example. And the more we practice this teaching, this philosophy, the more we come to understand that, not as a selfish or egotistical position, but rather that as I grow myself, the example that I am is more available to others should they choose it. Always remembering that the same is true for them the more they grow their belief, their faith, their actions. The more they set the example for others if others choose it. The idea here is that we build our own faith by example to where others find that to be a life that is fulfilling, a life that is joyous, a life that is secure and safe and loving, so that anything other than that loses its allure. Rather than trying to beat somebody up because they don't believe what we believe, any more than we allow them to beat us up for what we believe. So, it's going back to that Old Testament commandment, isn't it? That we treat others as we would like to be treated. Even though how each of us lives our lives may be different from each other. So, faith is a state of being convinced of whatever. Our evolution through this life is therefore directly connected to the direction of our faith. This doesn't have to be difficult. It can be a completely thrilling experience when we allow it to be. So for me, I choose to keep my faith vital. Perfect God, perfect human, perfect being. Doesn't mean that it doesn't change. Perfection is not static. Perfection is active. It's dynamic, just like everything else in the universe is. So daily I find I have to remind myself of that. Some days, more than once. Because I find myself operating below that level, and I want to correct it before it becomes a habit. In fact, I don't know about you, but I've discovered in recent years that I have a lot of habits that I'm not particularly proud of or happy with. And that one by one, I'd like to change those habits. I'd like to morph them, if you will, into something more positive, more satisfying for myself, and perhaps more pleasing for those around me. I can't change them all at once. I can't even call them all up at once, and I'm certainly not going to make a list of them and browbeat myself with that list every day. But I can assure you, when one habit has receded into a new behavior, something else shows up to work on. So Holmes says it like this: we shall all demonstrate this perfect faith as we stop seeing the universe as opposed to itself, and as we stop having the will to do or get that which is contrary to the universal good. Let me say that again. We shall all demonstrate this perfect faith as we stop seeing the universe opposed to itself, and as we stop having the will to do or get that which is contrary to the universal good. There's nothing in life that denies any of us our good, our self-expression, as long as we don't contradict the general good, the universal good. And as we accept that, so it is within us. Thank you.